Greetings, everybody. It's John Muka here. As you know, I've been in the middle of this process of reacting to the Mega PreK project that the superintendent and school board is planning to do at the Robinson location. I wanted to just play the presentation that Dr. Rocco did this past Monday at the school board meeting on June the 16th and add just a little bit of commentary. Now, essentially, this project became public knowledge at around the March timeframe, and from the beginning, Dr. Rocco, his people, and the school board majority at least, were gung-ho to get this project going, the pre-K project along with the pools project, and we were expecting construction to begin as early as September this year, and Mr. PreK at one point had said that the bids might go out as early as July. Now, that was rolling along pretty rapidly until we got to the May school board meeting, where all of a sudden it was announced that the project was on hold. And at that meeting, there was nothing really explained as to why. At the most recent meeting in June the 16th, Dr. Rocco gave us a 3-minute presentation to explain that what happened was MCIA, the Mercer County Improvement Authority, had decided not to approve the $30 million of bond funding that these two projects were going to take. So essentially, the school board or the superintendent, neither party, put this on hold. MCIA said no to the financing for the bonds. So now we're in a position where it's not clear what's going to happen next. But one thing is clear from this presentation that we just saw on Monday. The school board is going to be tasked to get with MCIA and try to work out what the problem is, to try to make these projects fall in line with what the priorities are that MCIA has going for similar types of projects. So you may see this bond funding be brought back to life again, or there may be alternatives done. So first, let's just look at the first part of Dr. Rocco's presentation, and then I'll make some comments about that.
So moving on to something a little more serious, last month I reported to our community that our preschool and high school pools projects were on hold at the request of the Board of Education. At that meeting, a board member also stated that there were questions that needed to be answered. And I want to clarify both statements for our community tonight in my superintendent's report. As has been described many times at these meetings and in my community updates, there are a number of formal and informal approvals that the Board of Education must go through to get these projects to a point in which the work can start. Until last month, the Board of Education had not requested a pause or a hold or a stop or the end of the projects. On the contrary, the board had done its due diligence, asked many questions, reviewed plans and information, and made informed decisions to move the projects forward each month. The board's request for a hold is a result of a communication received from the Mercer County Improvement Authority that indicated that neither project currently align with their programmatic priorities. As a result of that statement, the Board of Education sent questions for MCIA, and they hoped to get them answered. It is the board's hope that both MCIA and the board can sit down to review both projects and discuss the value in each of them for our students, our schools, and our community.
Now, I just wanted to stop here so that I just notice a couple things here. First of all, Dr. Rocco is making this presentation speaking for the school board. Now, why is that? Why is the superintendent telling us what the school board is deciding and what they're going to do? That's the role of the president of the school board and the school board members themselves. Next, you should notice that there is nothing in the official agenda for Monday that mentions anything about the pre-K project or the pools project. It's only put in by stealth under the title of Dr. Rocco's superintendent's report. So this is a problem. You know, the school board is supposed to be representing us in what happens there and not just listening and doing exactly what the superintendent says. Now, Dr. Rocco, as part of his narratives, usually says the part about how diligent the school board is about asking questions and doing due diligence. But it's perfectly apparent in that 3-minute segment, and it was so for the rest of the school board meeting, that when it comes to the pre-K project, the school board just sits there. They don't ask any questions. At Monday, they didn't make any comments about what's going on. They simply sat and listened to what the superintendent had to say, and then we moved on from there. They didn't ask any questions, and we didn't, as the public, didn't have the opportunity for a Q&A session either. And in between meetings, they continue their policy of not answering questions or giving any kind of information out. So let's just get a focus here. The school board did not decide to put this project on hold. The funding was stopped and said that MCIA said no to the funding. So apparently there's a lot of disconnects there, and this was not handled very effectively from the get-go. Now let's give a listen to the second part of what Dr. Rocco had to say.
Value in each of them for our students, our schools, and our community. We want to work with MCIA to improve our growing school district and provide programming that not only addresses our current K-12 student population, but also engages, supports, and educates our youngest children that are eligible for preschool. Many districts across the state have preschool programs in their communities. HTSD is lucky enough to have received state grant funding in the amount of $11 million to assist in building a facility. Those funds and the fact that bonding through MCIA would not increase the tax levy for the construction projects are a once-in-a-generation opportunity. The time to use these grant funds and to not impact the tax levy is quickly running out. We hope that MCIA will contact us to engage in a discussion. We are, as we stated to them, willing to meet. So that's the update on the preschool and the pools.
Thank you to my fellow colleagues.
So as you see in the second part, the school board has been tasked, essentially, sounds like from the superintendent, to go work with MCIA and make this project funding come back to life. So we're talking about $30 million worth of Mercer County Improvement Authority bonds. Bonding is borrowing, and when you borrow $30 million, there's a lot of interest expense involved. In fact, at the current interest rate, it would be about $10 million over the 10-year term of these bonds that would be used. So the school board, along with the superintendent, is willing to incur $10 million of extra expense just so that most people in Hamilton don't have to have any idea of what's really going on. And the mantra that we hear over and over again from the beginning is, this is not going to raise Hamilton Township taxes. But they leave off the rest of that. It won't raise Hamilton Township taxes right now because the interest and the final principal payment are going to come due sometime in the future. So these are the ways that this particular school board is acting. We've tried to work with them. We try to be reasonable. We're not getting any results. So now we have to think seriously about what the next steps are, and it really comes down to different people on the school board. So you can have good people in positions, but if they're using a bad process to make decisions, you're going to get bad decisions. And especially if they're not listening to reasonable questions and reasonable ideas from the rest of the community, they're likely to make future mistakes, and you'll see more of that in the future with this group. So what will we eventually be getting from the $293 million school budget that goes into effect for the new school year? We'll probably get more of the same of what we have, and that's essentially mediocrity, which is what I covered in some of my comments at the June 16th meeting. But there's some bad news that we got to face in terms of performance. And these are the scores that we got from the state of New Jersey earlier in the year. Now, there's quite a range here. We have 23 schools. 16 of the 23 are in the bottom third of percentile rank. And that includes 2 out of 3 of the high schools and all 3 of our middle schools. They're in the bottom third. There's another 4 schools that are in the middle third, and there's actually 3 schools that are in the top 1/3. The 2 Yardville elementary schools and the Pace Charter School. So we have a range here, so we know we can do it. It's possible. And I'm hoping that the strategic plan, the facility strategic plan, could be built into this to make a change for the better in all these areas. But we can help you, so don't keep us on the outside. Let's actually schedule a town hall meeting and prepare in depth to do it the right way from the beginning and take advantage of all the people in Hamilton that do want to get involved and may not mind spending more money in taxes if it's going to do a job for our kids. So please consider that. Have a wonderful summer break. Enjoy it. And, we'll be back together all too soon. Thank you.
Thank you.